Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture, upload it onto a canvas, and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
From Iowa to New York, we keep things chilly, but not at the Chili Bowl. Heating things up and smoking some rubber, the BRP iRacing Series roars into Weedsport, New York this evening for round 6 on the season. Welcome race fans to PitStop TV. Joe Donahue joins me on the mic this evening, Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the BRP iRacing Series. Thank you for tuning in across our multiple platforms this evening: Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Plenty of places to watch, and we know you have plenty of different channels to watch sim racing action on. Thank you for joining us here this evening for our coverage from Weedsport. We head east to the Empire State for our lone New York visit on this 14 race schedule, and it's going to be a doozy. This Weedsport Speedway, bit of a D-shaped oval. It's a whole lot of fun, and you know what, Joe? With our lone New York visit, one of our few trips up to the Northeast on our early 2021 schedule, I am excited to be back and at such a special place for these big blocks in particular.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there, Andrew. I think this track's got a lot of importance to a lot of the drivers in this series for this season to get a win or at least a good finish here. I know there are a lot of people at least registered to be from New York on the iRacing platform, which obviously doesn't necessarily mean they live there at the current moment, but there are a lot of guys that have some ties not only to New York itself, but just to the Northeast in general. And obviously these big block guys are all based relatively out of the Northeast and into Canada even. So this track, I think it runs the big blocks really well too. So we should be set up to not only have a good facility to get some good racing out of these big blocks like we did last week at Knoxville, but we also have a lot of motivated drivers to try to perform well and get their cars up to the front.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to bringing these cars to another one of these bullring tracks. Last week at Knoxville, Iowa, of course, the sprint car capital of the world, but Knoxville Speedway is a big half-mile, Joe. It's certainly one of those high-speed tracks. It's not what we're going to see at all tonight. We're going to see these guys get a little bit rough and tumble. We're going to see them beat and bang on one another, and that's what these big blocks are great for. I have gotten the chance now to see big blocks in person, and oh boy. Well, I think we saw one big block turn laps. There were 602 Northeast modifieds. It was down at Florida, or well, down at North Florida Speedway in Florida, Lake City, Florida to be exact. And seeing these cars actually rip around in person, albeit not quite the iteration that we're watching this evening, it's a special experience actually being able to see these guys rip around and see how those cars actually take the dirt in real life. And it's very, very similar to what we actually see here on the sim. And on the sim this evening, AJ Albretta, suddenly one of the new hot shoes of the series. He comes in. He's currently fastest on our practice board. Let's check out our point standings, though, coming into this evening. And Joe, Kevin Hebert, he's still on a tear. Albretta's kind of fallen down a little bit, but I'm still looking for that 22. Not Travis Miller's 22, but AJ Albretta's 22 to be really, really good in the back end of this season and move his way up. Maybe not to contend with Kevin Hebert for a championship, but certainly to place himself for gold, silver, or bronze.
Yeah, I think Albretta's got at least a lot of motivation to keep that up tonight. Last week was tough for AJ. He got involved in a couple incidents. Both of those 22 cars had some trouble at Knoxville, and obviously Kevin Hebert did not have as much trouble at the end of the race. He ended up second place in that event, so that definitely helped him in the championship. Same with Cody Higbee. Cody's been getting some momentum together lately and coming home third last week too. I think there's a lot of momentum in that 97 car. You're looking for him to try to get up front and make some moves, but you look through the whole order. I mean, you look at these names: Travis Miller, Ryan Susi, Thomas Richard, the defending winner from last week even. These are names you just see up at the front all the time. I mean, these guys race each other hard, they race each other well, and there's a lot of exciting action on track, fighting for just any points you can get to try to get further up towards that top of the standings.
Yeah, it's not just Hebert and even Albretta that we're looking at. You mentioned Higbee, you mentioned Miller. Susi, he's been great all season. He comes in tied, actually, with Thomas Richard. Based on the series point standings, he's still given the nod over Thomas Richard for fourth place, but Richard, I think, would get the tiebreaker if it came down to it, given his 2 wins. And how about Thomas Richard, actually? Up to 2 wins now. Towards the start of the season, he was struggling a little bit just to even break the top 10. He's since climbed past guys like Joe Matthews, Maxime Plant, Michael Hackett, Ryan Beagle to make up the rest of the top 10. He's got himself into 5th, and I mean, really, that's 4th, given that he's got the tiebreaker currently over Ryan Susi. So things are looking up for the number 3 tee as we move into qualifying here in about 10 seconds or so. Very excited to see how things shake out. Last time around in their 360 sprint car season, Joe, this was a wild card event. This certainly shook things up, and this was the origin of our very first certified oof moment, thanks to Ryan Susi taking a spill that began in turn 4, ended in turn 2, but skipped turn 1 entirely. Go check out our social media if you want to see that. But going straight into qualifying, I don't really know who to look for, actually. The last time we were at one of these bull rings, I think, was Lanier, and that was a little bit longer than here at Weedsport, a totally different racetrack, high banked, and you run it completely differently. I'm interested to see who ends up getting the nod this evening in qualifying. And before we get there, I actually want to mention that all PitStop TV broadcasts, of course, are brought to you by the following partners: Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Use promo code PitStop TV at checkout for 10% off of your wall-mounted sound art device today. By Race Pace, pick up pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup shop and driver development program. By Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, you deserve the best care that money can buy. And by Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of PitStop TV. See the times coming in, top of your board. A whole lot of quick times coming in as well, Joe.
Yeah, I saw a couple names pop up. The last one I had saw there was the 38, Ryan Susi. You can see on timing and scoring on your screen right now, and you see the 38 driving through turns 1 and 2. He's currently got the fastest lap time, but obviously there's a couple guys down at the bottom who haven't turned laps yet, haven't put in a fast lap, and I'm sure there's a couple guys going around the track trying to catch back up and get their second lap in strong. But Ryan Susi, one of those drivers registered from New York, I would be watching to see how much practice he put in. I'm sure he wants to put on a good performance here at home.
Absolutely. Looks like he's going to turn a few extra laps here as well. That's something a lot of these drivers do, is they just turn those extra few laps, get a few more practice laps in, and see how the dirt changes in the beginning of this heat race portion of our evening, especially for Ryan Susi, who will, if this holds, head up our first heat race. Brett Haas on the racetrack, you see his number 55 car. I'm very fond of this paint scheme, actually. Something about the white and blue paint, and then the very warm, the fiery yellow and orange number with the black outline. Oh man, it just looks really, really cool. Some red logos on there as well. It's got a nice mix, very, very colorful is the 55. Maxime Plant, he's checking in at, it looks like 11th place on our qualifying boards this evening, and only one car left on the racetrack is Corey Howe. I want to say he's making his first start this season. You can correct me if he was there last week.
Yeah, Corey was with us last week. I believe he didn't quite get into the show, though, so this probably will be Corey Howe's first attempt to make it in, and if he gets into the feature, it'll be his first feature with the series. So that would be really cool to see. Obviously, you come out with such a competitive field, and if you come out in your first time and you can't quite get into the feature, you learn, you gain experience, and that's what Corey Howe did last week. Hopefully that pays off and he can put something together here, get a nice qualifying time in, and maybe get himself into one of those transfers in the heat races.
Looks like he's doing a little bit of learning this evening, bit of a rough qualifying run, but hey, you've got to learn somehow. And just like the ARCA race at Daytona, for example, that was some of their first times getting on Daytona, the big track, and learning drafting. This might be Corey Howe's first time getting onto a Weedsport with the Big Block Modified, and he's got to learn. And you know what? I saw good things there at first. I think just kind of got himself crossed up going into turn 3 and ended up going for that bit of a spin. And once you're out of your rhythm in qualifying, that seems to kind of just be the end of it, and it's really hard to get back into a rhythm and get a qualifying lap down. Before we get straight into heat number 1, let's take it down our starting order for this first of 4 scheduled heats. Ryan Susi on pole, no surprise that 38's quick here at Weedsport. Second place going to go to Cody Higbee, the 97C. He is coming into this evening second in points. Look for that 97 to be quick. Matt DeRitter, he'll head up heat number 3 in the 3rd position, much like his number 03. Jamie Porter firing off from outside of row number 2. Inside of row number 3, going to be Travis Miller in the 22 with the 23 of Mike Wenner to his outside in 6th. The back 3 positions of heat number 1 going to look like this. We got Brandon Gruhl in the 35, Brian Berger in the 60, and finally it's going to be Hunter Hulberg, Double H, rounding up as caboose here in the first heat race in the number 99.
Yeah, Hunter had a tough week last time out. He actually got up into the fence and wall rode a little bit there sideways on the fencing. That was an interesting thing to see, but there's a lot of other guys in this field, not just him, that are looking to turn things around. Wenner had ups and downs last week. Travis Miller had ups and downs. these guys all just are going to come out and try to do their best here. 1 lap to green this first heat of the night.
And of course, thank you to all BRP sponsors, Bicknell Racing Products, of course, the namesake of the BRP iRacing series, as well as Rival, Powder Coatings and Sandblasting, Matt DeRitter Designs, Butt Kicker, Jam Performance, and Miller's Auto Detailing. Many fine partners coming in supporting the BRP iRacing series. You know what? This season has been a lot of fun so far. We're coming up to the halfway point. I hear there's big things for the next season after this, going into the summer of 2021. Boy, good things on the way for the BRP iRacing series. We'll get straight into heat number 1 on the evening, and Susie gonna lead us down into turn 1 with Higbee around his outside, DeRitter fighting there for third, Porter on his outside.
They run through the D-shaped backstretch for the first time. Susie's going to slide up, and Higbee's going to go single file with him. We got a car up in the wall. That is Mr. Porter. Jamie Porter won his first heat race in this series last time out at Knoxville. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be getting this one unless he can turn something big around.
Higbee all over the bumper bars, gets a bit of a dig down there in the bottom side, but loses it on exit. Apex a bit too early. Susie gonna start to string out his lead. A battle on for third and fourth. Remind you, the transfer spot is 4th position and up. So Travis Miller currently sitting in the hot seat. He is 4th place. Brandon Gruel, the first one out. And now, when I say the first one out, that doesn't mean they're completely out of the feature. We take 4 from each heat. That gives us a total of 16. Then we have a couple of consolation races to tack on 5 more from each of those. That gets us to our 26-car field, Joe. And right now, the first 4 to lock in would be Susie, Higbee, DeRitter, and Miller.
Yeah, Travis Miller put a small gap in between himself and Gruel right there. You can see he's all over the tail of the 03 machine right now. You're riding on board through 3 and 4 as he's going to slide down and apex the turn 4 wall there. He's doing pretty well of holding on to DeRitter, and he's doing a pretty good job of putting Gruel further and further behind him. So long as Travis Miller doesn't get into any mistakes right here, I'd be watching for him to try to at least make the feature. And as I say that, he goes down the inside of DeRitter, and Gruel catches right back up to the both of them.
Brandon Gruel trying to make his way into our feature race this evening from Weedsport. A lap and a half to go for the entire field down the backstretch. Hard to call it a back straightaway. They get off into turns 3 and 4, and for the final time for Heat 1 down the front stretch across the line, and we will take the white flag. You see Gruel just trying to work his way into our feature event by virtue of the transfer here in Heat number 1. It doesn't look like he's going to do it, and out of turn number 4, Susie is going to win. Then it's Higbee, Miller, DeRitter, and Gruel rounding out the top 5. The back 4 positions you can find on the ticker on the left, and that is Heat 1. As quickly as it started, it is over, and we're right into Heat number 2 when it's going to look a bit like the following. Starting on pole, Kevin Hebert, points leader, comes in at number 71, qualifies second, and he's looking fast as always. Michael Hackett going to roll off to his outside in row number 1. Row number 2 brings us the 84 of Dan Sider, then the gentleman, Maxime Plant, in the number 79. Starting 5th here in Heat number 2, going to be Joe Matthews in the number 1, and Double D, Dylan Davidson in the 73. Starting 7th place here in Heat number 2, we have Tyler Pachalski. Then it's Richard Pereira in the number 96, rolling off from 8th, and rolling off 9th to conclude our lineup for Heat number 2, and none other than the 18 car of Gavin Eisel. I see some big names in this heat here, Joe, guys that might be able to go up there and mix things up by the end of this one, but it's going to be tough to get up past guys like Joe Matthews and Dylan Davidson if you're the back 3, and it's going to be even harder to get by guys like Maxime Plant sitting in 4th, the final transfer spot for the start of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Matthews put a great performance together last week as well. There was a lot of guys, obviously, that put together good performances, but he did an excellent job. And I think looking through this field, I mean, you got Hebert and Plant, 2 top drivers. Hackett, obviously, is always up there. I think Sider's going to put together something nice, and maybe even we'll see Tyler Pachalski up front again like last week, or Double D. I mean, there's only 4 guys that are going to make the feature straight in from this heat, and I'm concerned about how many of them there are, because we got plenty of great drivers who deserve very much to be in that feature race, but you can only bring 4 of them in from here.
Only 4 move on, but again, ample opportunity for these drivers to still race into the consolations if they miss it, so 5th place needn't get worried. Kevin Hebert going to bring us to the start of heat number 2, and we're off and away, and already a challenge from the outside. Michael Hackett, a great drive off into turn 1, and he's already looking like he might be able to get that race lead. Contact down the back, the 71 into the back end of the 84 just a bit. Oh, he gets him all kinds of jacked up, and we're 3 wide, 4 wide, one on his wheels back there. I guess they're all on their wheels, but one on his rear wheels only. And we have a caution. Oh my. I think that was Dan Sider pulling a wheelie.
Yeah, Dan Sider definitely had the horses in the back right there. That got all sorts of squirrely. Good for him for saving that machine, though. That was a lot. He got right into that wall, though. You see him pulling off the track right here on your screen. We'll pull up a replay and see just how this all unfolded. You look at the front end, and you'll see Michael Hackett getting into it at the front of the field. I mean, he's trying to lead and hold back both Hebert and Plant, so he slides down to the bottom a little bit of contact down the back, and then Hebert comes up into him. It was just a little bit of aggression, nothing more than just trying to get through that turn quickly. And then obviously you see Sider got into that wall. He collected Eisel, Matthews, and Pachalski up behind him. They all got bunched up together, made a whole bunch of contact. Pachalski spun down the front, but props to Dan Sider for keeping control of that machine.
And Sider's going to take a fast repair, it looks like. Maxime Plant then going to assume the race lead. Hebert's going to retain 4th, and you mentioned it, it's just aggression on the first lap. Hebert obviously not trying to wreck anybody, but he certainly got into the 84 of Hackett pretty hard, and that sent him into a bit of a spin, just bottled everybody up, and we had that 4 wide out of that. It looks like Sider he's going to stay in the field, but it is scoring him currently a lap down. We'll see if timing and scoring changes across the start-finish line and puts him back with the field. But taking that fast repair, I wouldn't be surprised if he is 1 lap down to everybody, and yeah, it looks like it's going to keep him there. So big problems there for Dan Sider. We do count caution laps in the heats, not in the feature. Very important to keep in mind. It means we don't get caught up in preliminary action, but we make sure we finish the feature on a good note. Coming to the second green flag then of heat number 2, it's going to be Maxime Plant with Michael Hackett to his outside. Look at Davidson. He's up to 3rd for this restart. Then it's Hebert, then it's Pereira, then it's Eisel, and we are back green.
Huge jump out of the gentleman right there. Hackett didn't get the chance to pull the great run off the top that he did on the first start of heat number 2. He's got a nice race with Double D going on for 2nd place right now. Hebert drops back behind those guys, but he's still in that transfer spot. So as it stands, so long as Gavin Eisel doesn't put together a good run to get down the inside of that car, he will hold onto that transfer and get straight into the main from here. But as Hackett and Double D, they get into each other, cars all over the place.
Oh my.
Yellows are going to come back out. Oh, we got a car stranded on the...
We might leave it green. We've taken the white flag, and Maxime Plant is off the lane. Pereira got stuck on the inside wall down there. Hebert continues on. We'll talk more about that in a moment, as the top 4 are going to be Plant, Hackett, Eisel, and Pachalski. Going to take the final transfer spot directly out of the heat. Matthews the first one out. Oh my, I'm not really sure what happened. Unfortunately, we don't really have time to get a replay because of how quickly we move straight into our next heat. But it looked like, if I have to take a guess, it looked like Kevin Hebert got off deep into turn 3 again and got into somebody, and unfortunately, it bottlenecked him one more time, Joe, when it put the 96 on the pit wall down. They're not even the pit wall, the concrete K barrier down there, and unfortunately is really going to affect Pereira's night. That said, moving straight into heat number 3, it's going to look a bit like this. The 022, I mentioned him as a hot shoe coming into this evening, qualifies 3rd on time. That puts him 1st in the 3rd heat race. Brett Haas going to roll off from 2nd place. And starting 3rd, it's going to be Adam Hilton in the appropriately numbered this evening, number 3 then. Ryan Beagle in the 84, scored as the 844, but the 84 on the racetrack roll off from the 4th position, starting 5th here in heat number 3. The Big Show, Randy Giroux. Haven't gotten to say that for a couple of weeks, and it's Thomas Richard in the 3T rolling off from 6th. Rolling off 7th and 8th, going to be David DiPietro and Dean Meitzer in the 49th, and Corey Howe going to round out our 3rd heat race starting grid. And Joe, it looks like we might already be coming to the start. Yeah, pace car lights are off. It may also just be the first time around. Yeah, pace car going to stay on. I thought for a second it all happened that quickly, and I just took that long in the pace lap.
Well, that's how it goes here with BRP. I mean, we try to get a good show together, but the interim time we have sometimes, thanks to iRacing, isn't all the most time for us to get through all the topics we want to talk about in between. But it does keep us close to the action and riveting in our seats. I know I'm on the edge of my seat all the way through these heat races. I think they're all exciting and unique in their own special ways. I think that it's a good show to have, and I'm glad we don't have too much downtime in between to worry about, getting a little bit lulled down in between.
Yeah, it takes what could be a couple of hours at a real racetrack and condenses it into about an hour or so, considering prelims and the feature. To kick off heat number 3, it's going to be AJ Alberetta with none other than Brett Haas on his outside, and wow, Haas gets a similar drive to what we saw second place. I forget who it was, but second place in the previous heat. A great drive on the outside of turn 1. He loses it by turn 3, though, and Alberetta off and away. But a battle here for third and fourth. Hilton losing some time on the bottom, and Beagle ripping the top side. A couple of 3 cars now battling for the transfer.
Yeah, so right now Beagle got that pass done, and Brett Haas, when he came through turn 4 that first time, it looked like he kind of gave up a run on the outside to try to get single file and hit the apex in turn 4.
Whoa!
The 2-3 cars into each other, Hilton
and
no. Richard, big hit for the last time's winner. Thomas Richards stuck on that concrete retaining wall.
He gets it rolling again. I think we're going to keep things clean and green. That's going to force him to come from deep within the field this evening. Alberetta continues to lead. Then it's Haas and Beagle battling for second. And now a big gap for none other than the big show, Randy Giroux. He's clean in the 4th spot right now, and he's got a big gap to Adam Hilton. I'm liking the way this looks with the 24 car. Unfortunately, Adam Hilton, by no fault of his own, might be out of, well, not out of this, but he's going to have to come through a consi.
Yeah, that might be a tough break for him. Obviously, if you get 5th place, you'll be starting on the front row, so you shouldn't be in too bad a shape there. And like we've said earlier on as well, we're not sending too many cars to the trailers before the main, so plenty of chances for Adam to get himself into the feature here. He's from New York. You can see that on your screen here with these lovely new pictures we have to show you some of the insider information of these races. We come past 2 to go. Alberetta still leads. Brett Haas, Ryan Beagle, your top 3, and then Giroux is sitting on that final transfer spot. Hilton trying to trek him back down the backstretch here, but I don't think there's enough time to make up that much time without a little bobble from 24.
No, I think Adam Hilton, unfortunately, is going to stay on the outside looking in. You also see a couple of cars back there, DiPietro and Meitzler, hanging on to the back end of the heat. Corey Howe, he is still out there as well. And you know what? No matter how challenging of a night you're having, that's what you want to do. You want to keep racing. Out of turn number 4, though, it's going to be AJ Alberetta, Brett Haas, Ryan Beagle, and Randy Giroux moving straight on. And just, again, respect to Corey Howe. Even if the night is just not yours, you want to stay out there, you want to keep racing, keep trying, keep learning, and that's always going to get a draw of respect from me. Alberetta wins the 3rd heat on the evening, and we then will roll straight into heat number 4, and it's going to look a bit like this. Brandon Gruhl going to start on our pole position, then another 3. Actually, no. Did we only get 3 heats? I think so. I think this is a consi. It looks like, yeah, we're going consi racing, considering Brandon Gruhl and Adam Hilton, they've already heat raced this evening. So, this will be constellation number 1, and it's a bit difficult to say how many we would have taken. I guess we'll still get to 16 somehow between the first 3 races. Anyways, we will take you through this constellation with Brandon Gruhl in the front row, then Adam Hilton. 3rd place will go to Dylan Davidson here on the grid, then Jamie Porter in the 45. Rolling off 5th, it's Dean Meitzler. Then 6th, it's Richard Pereira. And rounding out consi number 1 is Mike Wenner.
Yeah, so we got 7 drivers right here, so you definitely want to get up into that top 5 as quick as possible and try to build a gap and get yourself safely into this one. Jamie Porter definitely didn't have to do this last week, and we'll be looking to make a strong run out of 4th place, but this should get interesting at the end of this one. The track's gotten worked in a bit, so it's getting a little bit slicker. These guys are going to have to be a little more careful on the throttle, and obviously, I mean, it's the big show. It's whether you make it to the feature or not.
Well, the big show's already in the big show, Joe. We ain't got to worry about him. But Brandon Gruhl, you know, that 35, he's had a rough go of things this season. This could be a silver lining if he can pick up this consolation win. And you never want to have to go through the consi, but to pick up a consi win is going to feel good in some regard because you're still beating a good set of drivers. So I'm really pulling for this 35 actually. See if you can turn the season around a little bit, maybe a turning point right here for him. We go straight into our 10-lap consi. A bit of a slow start, but we get it rolling regardless, and we are off and away in consi number 1.
Gruel looks like he's going to have to defend from Double D and Adam Hilton as the two of them make contact behind him. He's going to get a little bit of a break right there. Jamie Porter going to stick the nose on the inside of Double D down the front stretch again. Lap easily led by Gruel up at the front end of the field. Maybe a little slider. It doesn't quite go up the whole way. Double D puts the nose up top, and Porter didn't quite get that one the full way in. He does it this time in 3 and 4 and gets a nice bump out of it too.
4 wide for a second out of 4. They race by us off into turn 1. We're only sending 2 cars out of this race home right now. It would be Meitzler and Wenner in the final transfer spot at the moment. How about this? Richard Pereira, after spearing his car on the end of that wall on the inside of 4, he is back into a transfer spot to make it into this race. His night is not done. This is the kind of run you like to see out of somebody who got shorted a little bit in his heat race. We want to see him move even farther up, and he's trying to do so on the inside of Porter. Oh, he gets tight, pushes up into the 45 a bit. Hilton going to get away, but Meitzler now looking to the outside of the 96.
Watch that 49 car to try to pull some momentum on the top. He's got some room up there. It doesn't quite work. Actually, Wenner's going to be aggressive on the inside. The 23 going to try to slot itself into 6th place. Mike Wenner pushing that number 23 to try to get up to Pereira right now. He's got to deal with Meitzler on his outside for the moment. Pereira likes seeing those 2 cars side by side behind him. They race each other and give him time to get a little gap in between them as he's watching 2 cars fighting right in front of him, and then a battle for the lead as well.
Watching back from Jamie Porter's machine, you can see Pereira battling with now Wenner in 6th. This is Wenner body checks the 49 up into the wall. And, buddy, that is not the boards. You do not want to body check somebody off into the boards here. Although, wow, Dylan Davidson, what just happened to him? He goes for a ride out of turn 4, and suddenly he's not going to make this feature race.
That was a huge bobble for Double D. I think he got a little bit of help out of turn number 4 that time, and obviously the car caught and just sent him up into the wall. He's way back behind Dean Meitzler right now, but that did gift Mike Wenner the final transfer spot, and he's going to try to hold on to it in front of that number 49. Maybe see if he can get it around Porter before it happens and get himself a little bit safer into the show, because Dean Meitzler right now is charging on, and with a nice apex through turn 4, I'd be scared of this 49 machine.
Well, we've already seen Wenner body check Meitzler into the metaphorical boards on the outside of 2. What does Meitzler do here in 3 and 4 in return? He's going to throw it in deep, but not deep enough. Out of turn number 4, Hilton's going to take the Consi. Then it's Gruel, Pereira, Porter, Wenner moving on, and we're on board with the first to get eliminated. It's Dean Meitzler in the 49. That one is going to sting if you're Meitzler. I made the hockey reference, and it fits because these guys are up north. And that is unfortunate to see him get just completely body checked out. But you know what? It worked out for Wenner because he wasn't in a transfer spot at first. And then when Dylan Davidson had his issue, it worked out in the end. So Michael Wenner just made one of the biggest moves of his season to make sure he got that final spot out of that first consolation. Rolling into consolation number 2 then, we bring you the front row. It's Joe Matthews, the 1, and the 99, Hunter Holberg. There it is. We covered 1 to 99, no more. That's it. Just 1 to 99 right there, every number in the front row. No, moving on to row number 2, we have David DiPietro in the 68, and Kevin Hebert. He's coming from deep within this Consi field, considering he's the points leader. He comes in, will start 4th. Rolling off 5th, we have Brian Berger in the 60, then Corey Howe looking to make his way in, and this could be a decent opportunity. He's only got to race Berger and Richard in the back of the field. Well, no, and Sider here on the back row as well. So some competition back there, but Corey's in a decent starting spot, actually, given how we've seen this go.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too scared of it. I think Corey, as long as he's got a little bit of experience under his belt with the track tonight, and he's gotten his shoes under him a little bit, if he can just hold on, I mean, that's all you got to do right now is just hold on to where you're at and maybe get gifted a little bit of space from DiPietro on the inside or even Double H in front of him. Obviously, Brian Berger, Thomas Richard, Dan Sider, there are a lot of fast drivers, people to be watching out for, and I wouldn't want to have that 3 car behind me if I'm looking to make it into the main right now, but you can hold on, and this track does let you take advantage of maybe some one-laned action or getting in front of other people and killing their run, so we'll just have to see what Corey does.
And just to clarify for everybody watching, that was a bit of an interesting start in that consi as well. But Matthews gets fired off and away. Just want to make sure everybody's fluent in the way this will work. Oh my, we're going to have to wait a second because the 71 just went bicycling in turn 2, and he's going to get thrown to the back end of this consi on lap number 1 already. Back there with none other than Thomas Richard, Corey Howe now joining them. But oh my, a couple of serious championship contenders on the outside looking in at the moment. They are both set to be cut if this race finishes as is. And this plays into what I was going to mention. We only had 3 heats, but the heats will still take the same number of drivers. The heats in iRacing are programmed to still take 16 drivers. However they get to it in that formula, I'm sure it would be 6, 5, and 5 from our heats. They'll still get in. We're still going to take just 10 from these consis, so we're still only taking 5 a race. Very important right now if you're Kevin Hebert and Thomas Richard.
Yeah, these are 2 big names. I mean, both of these guys have wins this season. I mean, they're up at the top of the standings and everything. These 2 are fighting to make it into the race at all. That's a huge disappointment for a points championship and just for somebody you'd expect to be not in that sort of situation on a regular basis, or if at all. Obviously, these guys come out and race each other really hard week in, week out. Oh, and as I say it, they race each other really hard into turn number 1. They send Double H around there, and the 99 goes back into 7th spot.
And suddenly, these 2 are racing for the final transfer spot. They might be gifted that one. In fact, they're racing up to these guys, battling for, 2nd through 4th, and it's all just one pack now. So I'm no longer too worried about the 71 or the 3T, as they're on the back end of the 60 at DiPietro up top and the 60 of Berger down low. Battling across for 3 to go, and Berger is still hanging on to that spot. Hebert going to take a very low line, and now 3 wide down the backstretch.
They are aggressive as ever, and I was concerned about those 2 getting a run on Berger and DiPietro if they were still side by side, but obviously Berger and DiPietro did not go side by side any further, and now Richard gets to send it into the inside with Hebert down there with him. They'll try to get around DiPietro now, but they're both up in that top 5 to this point, which is good to see that they're both going to be safe so long as they can hold position and get to the end of this one.
White flag for Joe Matthews, the race leader. Dan Sider, 2nd place. See his 84 up there. 3 wide again. DiPietro up top. And these are your transfers at the moment. Looks like Brian Berger a bit too slow for these guys, and unfortunately is going to be the first to get axed in consi number 2. That means we keep Adam Hilton and Kevin Hebert in the field of the last 2 transfers of the evening. The final 2 to etch their ways into the feature race. That is insane to think about when, honestly, they might be the favorites for the championship. Those 2, the points leader and the most winningest driver so far, the only to get 2 so far. That is incredible when you think about it. But you know what, Joe? That just sets up for an even better feature race than we expected. And the grid is going to look like the following. Starting first, Ryan Susi in the 38 out of New York. It's a home race for him, and he's always quick, it seems, in these big blocks, especially since making the switch to the big blocks from the 360s. Maxime Plant, the gentleman, lines up to his outside. Inside of row 3, I mentioned him as one to watch. AJ Albretta there in the 22 car. Then it's Cody Higbee, 2nd place in points, coming in this evening. He'll start 4th. Starting 5th, it's Michael Hackett. Then Brett Haas in the 55. Rolling off 7th, it's Travis Miller. Then Gavin Eisel in 8th. And rounding out our top 10 here for the feature, it's going to be Ryan Beagle and Matt DeRitter.
We throw it back to row number 6. You see number 121, Tyler Pachalski, that yellow machine on the inside of Randy Giroux in the 24 in 12th spot. Go back to 13th on the grid is Adam Hilton in the 3, and his outside, love that first name, Joe Matthews in the number 1 machine. Starting in 15th spot on the inside behind these 2. Wait for our grid to update on the screen. Brandon Rule in the 35G on the inside of Dan Sider in the 84 machine. You throw it back to row number 9 behind them, 17th spot, Richard Pereira, and in 18th is David DiPietro out of New York. Final row, or row 10, I should say, of my grouping, Jamie Porter on the inside in the 45, and Thomas Richard, last time's winner, in 20th starting spot.
Rolling off from the 21st position, it's Mike Winner and Kevin Hebert in 22nd. I'm going to eat my words because we see Meitzler, we see Berger, we even see Davidson and Holberg back here I'm not sure what formula iRacing used to get there, but, well, they're tacked on to the back end of the field, so we will race them as is. It sets up for 26 cars. Nonetheless, the only car, unfortunately, that I don't see out here is going to be the 25 of Corey Howe, and that is unfortunate to see. But regardless, it's a feature race with the 26 remaining. Again, a late start. We're seeing a lot of those here this evening. Susie, already a bit of contact there from Alberta. He's digging on the bottom. 40 laps set up, and oh, we have contact. One over on lap 1, guys.
Oh, Hackett's stuck on top of the number 18 of Gavin Eisel right now. He's still flipping. This might be the record for the longest wreck. Might have beat Ricky Bobby there, but yeah, that was an unfortunate way to start your race if you're Michael Hackett. You're starting up towards the front, and obviously now you're at the tail, and the first lap's not a great place to see in yellow. I was getting concerned about the how narrow this track actually is, and especially in 1 and 4, the apex gets it a little narrower. But you saw Hackett slide up into the middle a little bit, and obviously Travis Miller went down his inside, and just at that point, a little bit of contact sends the 84 around upside down, spinning, flipping, all sorts of fun stuff down the back straightaway. And fortunately, Hackett ends up on his wheels again, gets that car rolling, and should hopefully be able to catch up and keep going with the rest of these guys as we progress forward through this feature.
Unfortunately, he is one of our other New Yorkers, having a whole lot of trouble here. And I recall he and I giving each other some trouble about the Patriots and Bills. I'm a Patriots fan, he's a Bills fan. So as much as I like to see Bills fans suffer, I hate that for Michael Hackett, and that's just an unfortunate way to start out a heat race, or sorry, a feature race. I keep getting, it's been a minute since we've had some dirt racing, well, since I've had some dirt racing to commentate, I suppose. You can tell it's been a couple of weeks, but yeah, unfortunately for Michael Hackett in this feature race, 40 laps, and he's thrown to the entire back of the field here on lap 1.
Yeah, but I don't think that's as bad in the long term as, say, getting wrecked with 10 to go. I think
oh no, it's better. You have the whole race to recover, but still, you never want to be back there.
Absolutely. I agree with that full-heartedly. I think if you're going to have it happen, I mean, now's the time to have it, but I wouldn't have wanted to be taking that ride down the backstretch. I know Hackett put a great performance in to get into this A main in the heat races, and he started more towards the front. Obviously, he's going to be sent back to the rear, but only time will tell how motivated he is to get that 84 back up to the front before the end of these 40 laps.
So as we get ready to go back green flag racing, we'll be taking lap number 2 then with this attempt at a green flag. They're already off and away, a very early start for these guys to combat some very late starts, it seems, and Ryan Susie going to take the race lead, well, keep the race lead down the backstretch, racing with the gentleman to his outside, into 3 and 4, Alberta looking low, and a clean and green start, I guess, restart to get this thing underway.
Yeah, they're 2x2 down this time, and we did get that lap in green. AJ Alberta turned the fastest lap, and I was going to say AJ was the guy who won the last time we went at a quote-unquote bull ring, being Lanier. He was the victor there. Maxime Plant pulls out ahead as the pace truck comes back out. We got David DiPietro around in 1 and 2. Brings out a yellow here with 3 laps down.
David DiPietro around in 1 and 2. Going to give us our second caution flag on the evening. Now, what happens to the 68? Bottom of turn 4, he's got, it's Richard behind him, and oh, it happens up ahead with Porter and Sider. And Porter goes for a heck of a ride. Let's take a look back and try and find out how it starts real quick.
Yeah, it looked like Porter got bobbled up the most. Obviously, DiPietro kind of slid into that at the end of what was going on there in 1 and 2, but on the replay again, we're following along with that 45 car. Had a really breakout performance, I think, last week at Knoxville. That was definitely cool to see out of him, but we go down into turn number 1 right here, sends it in, and just got tagged by Dan Sider going into the corner, and then obviously the rest of them come through. Yeah, but I wouldn't say aggression, but I'd say just coming in a little hot with Dan Sider behind him, and just unfortunately the two of them kind of occupied the same real estate for a short period of time right there.
That'd be a good way to put it there, Joe, unfortunately. Racing is racing sometimes. So with 26 of these cars, they're big blocks and pretty big in stature as well. Contact is going to happen. I mentioned it earlier. We're not going to have a whole lot of room to race. We're going to see these guys beat and bang, and they're even doing it under caution. You see these lines stacking up as the motors bog down a little bit, and they really feel the ruts under these pace laps.
Yeah, they were all bunched up right there. I hope these guys can, try to get control of their cars here a little bit and just avoid that, because you don't want to put damage on these machines under yellow. I mean, you race them, you beat and bang a little bit. That's how it goes. But any damage you get can easily offset how well your car's running for you. And then obviously once your car's beat on a little bit, you're in trouble. So hopefully these guys can keep hold of what they have and give us some more exciting racing. But if it's anything like these last couple laps, I mean, we've got some really great racing going on. We just, we've had a couple miscues, but I think over time the guys will get the grips on how the track's handling and be able to put together a really great show to the end.
Coming to the third green flag then of our feature race here at Weedsport. Again, thank you to the series partners on the left side of your screen. The green flag flies, and that was a very, very bad start from Ryan Susi. Gets very bottled up on the bottom side, and that gives the lead immediately to Maxime Plant. In the battle for second is Albretta down low, and Susi in the middle, Higbee up top. Higbee is going to get clear of them all.
Cody Higbee ran the top and pulls the momentum down the front straightaway, put that 97 car up into second place. Brett Haas putting some pressure on Susi behind him. You're riding on board now with 97C down this D-shaped back straightaway,
and
working
a
the
yellow.
top side, and another yellow flag comes out.
And unfortunately, it's going to be David DiPietro again. 2 cautions in a row. He's the first that we find, although it looks like once more it's going to start somewhere up ahead, and we'll find out exactly where momentarily. This is DiPietro leaving right on board with him here as he's just minding his P's and Q's, actually. Checking out for these guys, giving them all some room, and it's going to happen. Oh, he gets turned as Wenner and Pereira make contact simultaneously, and unfortunately, well, Pietro was just the butt of our, not our joke, but the first one we found, and unfortunately, he was just there, and he is going to go to the back of the field, it looks like, once more.
Yeah, I think Porter might have gave him a little bit of help right there. That was a little bit of deja vu, though, when we came around to pick up the cars involved in the incident and see if we could get a replay off of them. And you saw Dave DiPietro there again. That 68 machine was the one we caught on that other that caution we just had, and then obviously we get him again. I was kind of surprised there for a split second, but that's a tough break for Dave. I mean, home track, New Yorker, racing in a New York facility, and just trying to get through it, and obviously you're set back now that you're at the tail of the field being involved in an incident. You don't need that to happen again. Tough break there.
But you know what this will give us? We have a single file restart coming at you very, very quickly. And hopefully this helps us get some of this stuff out of the way here, because we've had a bit of a rough start to our race here at Weedsport, round 6 of 14 on the season. Very important, actually, for any one of these drivers to get up there and pick up the victory this evening. Looks like we actually have one more lap on our caution period here. So we'll check in on the weather this evening. Air temp 77. Very, very warm, I'd say, for February the 15th up in New York. But I think they would all welcome that warmth. 77, probably even a little bit north of where they would have it in their house if they have climate control and such. Track temp 71, though. I mean, it's dirt. I guess it's not all that important, but very calm wind sitting at 2 degrees and, 2 mile per hour, not 2 degrees, but ready to come to our 4th green flag then on the evening, and it's Maxime Plant out front, Cody Higbee second place. Single file should get these guys strung out.
Yeah, they kept it clean, at least up at the front end of the field. A little bit of spacing going on in between those top 3 cars. Albreda giving Susi some trouble on the inside. We've got a battle for 3rd place going right now. I think the single file restart does give them the chance to race each other out of the corners. Don't get that wrong, but it does help with the bunched up field and just getting everybody into a groove after the restart. So good stuff for them. Maxime Plant, Higbee, and Ryan Susi got it spread out pretty nicely. And I was going to throw it in there. You mentioned 2 degrees by mistake instead of 2 miles per hour. 2 degrees would be really nice because that's about 20 degrees warmer than where it is right now for me.
Oh boy, that's... -18 does not sound very fun. And ooh, 38. I thought you had it into the back end of Higbee there for a moment, but that actually leads us into a bit of a segue because unfortunately we're going to be going into our second broadcast of the evening here, the Pacific GT3 Challenge Series, without an Emerson Arden, and we just want to wish the best to both he and his family down in Houston, Texas, the frigid tundra of Houston, Texas, dealing with power outages rather. But also everybody, not only in the U.S., but everywhere that you're dealing with any kind of, hazardous weather situation, wish the best to you and anybody else not to be dealing with such. It's getting to be scary times here in the month of February. Caution flag going to come out, and it's hard to say exactly where this one's coming out. suspicions draw us suspiciously close to David DiPietro at first, but we'll ride with somebody else here to see who it might have been.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get one up, but we did get a quarter of the way into this feature. We had a nice little green flag run for the time being, so that was pretty cool to get some laps in and see some nice racing up at the front end and throughout the entirety of the field. You're watching now. This is going to be a replay to see if we can figure out which of these guys got involved in this incident here to bring this yellow out. We're seeing DiPietro and Pereira right now with Sider and Porter right in front of them. They come out of turn number 4 side by side and then 2 wide behind them.
Oh, Wenner and
that's Mike Wenner. Yeah, Mike Wenner is definitely stuck on the concrete wall down there, and Meitzler got into him too. We'll see if we can pull that back again. Wenner didn't get stuck permanently though, so we'll be able to keep that car rolling.
This is a tough one here for Mike Wenner up out of turn 4. He's going to be battling with, well, behind Davidson and Meitzler. Big troubles here. I don't even know how this happens twice in the same night. But, oh my, Wenner, just a little bit of contact with Meitzler and Davidson just pushes him down there. And unfortunately, there's nothing he can do at that point. He is just along for the ride. And, boy, that really tears up his race car and tears up his day as a whole, I'd say. He was looking pretty good through the heats, and unfortunately, this is really going to hurt things. We're back to double file this time. And hopefully we have better luck than the previous double file restarts, because otherwise we can expect, well, possibly David DiPietro to be the first one we pick after a caution flag goes out once more. But Plant and Higby bringing us the green flag off and away. You see them get up on the bars, and we are restarted on lap now 11 of 40.
Great restart by AJ Albreda up on the top side. He's going to try to slot himself into second here, running with Cody Higby. That is a fight for the second spot Ryan Susi wants to be a part of right here. You see him sliding to the inside of Higby, trying to cut in a little bit on the inside. I think that was contact with somebody behind him, but he sends it in on the apex of turn number 1, doesn't get it, actually loses some momentum. Travis Miller goes around him on the outside.
I love this angle into turn 3 as, Beagle and Susi, a little bit of contact on entry there. We got DeRitter and Haas behind. Haas went down the racetrack. We have another one on the wall down there. That was Pachalski, and it does draw yellow. Oh, we've had 3 hit the end of walls here at Weedsport. That is incredible. And in fact, I think he hit those pylons. I don't think he even got to the wall itself. Let's take a look back at how Tyler Pachalski ends up in the bollards down on the inside of turn 4.
Yeah, we'll catch this replay back here. We'll also watch that 24 of Randy Giroux. I'm pretty sure I saw him go way into the inside of the track, spinning off of somebody else in turn number 4, but you're watching the number 121, this yellow machine with Adam Hilton down the inside, cut in a little bit. Just trying to get down the inside, I think, was Adam Hilton, and obviously a little bit close for comfort there. Ended up putting him into the inside wall there, and that's just going to be a tough break for Tyler Pachalski. He put together a good performance at Knoxville. I know I've said that before in this broadcast, but it was great to see, and tough way to end the evening for the number 121 now with getting into that attenuator right there on the inside of the track.
And those bollards, unfortunately, going to force his motor into expiration, if you want to put it that way. And certainly the smoke that you saw billowing out of that number 121 going to be terminal and likely end his chances at anything north of about 26th or 25th on the evening. Under caution, lap 13 of 40. Want to remind everybody about our partners here at PitStop TV. Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Make sure to use promo code PitStop TV at checkout for 10% off of your wall-mounted sound art device today. Also, Race Pace, pick up pace with Race Pace, a community-driven setup shop and driver development program. Broadcasts also brought to you by Permanent Makeup in Cryo, Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy. And Whiplash Media, official graphic and camera provider of PitStop TV. Joe Donahue, it's great to be back here on a BRP broadcast. Had that little bit of a week off. It was only 1 week from BRP, but really it was a week and a half, almost 2 weeks from all PitStop TV broadcasts, and it was interesting being away there for a minute, but you guys all held everything down nicely and did a great job.
Well, yeah, I mean, we love to have you here with us, Andrew, but obviously we did our best. Obviously, I had Hayes Booth with me last week. I thought we did a pretty great job putting together a good show for everybody, and, you know, you just come out and try to have some fun, and obviously you got to do your real-world work. All of us do. We work during the day to have fun during the night. Fortunately, we were part of it last week, and even more fortunate than that is we got you back and you get to enjoy the BRP guys once again.
Well, hey, you say work like it's a bad thing, but it was great to go down to Florida, have some time down there, and see some race cars do some racing. We do go back green flag racing here, and we're going to keep it that way, hopefully, at least at a turn 3. Miller and Albreda, the couple 22 cars going at it. Miller up top, Albreda in the grayscale 022 down on the bottom side. Higbee side by side with Beagle for the back, and that's your entire top 5 with the gentleman out front. And it looks like Susie, he's fallen all the way back to 6th spot, just ahead of Eisel, who's breaking into the top 10. How about this run out of Gavin? Making his way north of 10th position, probably for the first time all season, I dare say. He's had a couple of rough runs, there we go as well, but the 18 looking good tonight.
Yeah, Gavin's definitely put in some practice. You see there, he's from New York, so obviously he's going to want to be competitive and do well here at Weedsport. I think a little bit of home track advantage does give you some push as we get another yellow flag out on the track, and we'll see what we got on this one when we get past lap 16 before it comes out.
Let's take a look back and see. Oh my, you know what? You know how we just said Pachalski might be done? Well, now I think he's done, because he is the root of cause in this caution flag. He's racing here with the big show, Randy Drew. Contact there in 3 and 4, but I don't think that's the cause just yet. You see Hilton back there as well with Wenner. Rough night for Hilton so far. And Pachalski down the inside of the 24. He just never had Randy cleared and goes up on the wall. Randy gets collected by DiPietro, and that's the caution flag.
That was a very slow rollover for Pachalski, but he was already propped up on the wall up there, and obviously when the car comes to a rest on the roof like that, you got to tow it back to the pits, and you can't just get that car reset and flip back over and rolling. So tough break for Pachalski. Obviously got involved in that other wreck, and we thought we'd seen the end of him, but fortunately he got another chance, and unfortunately on top of that was that it ends like this, and he's back in the pit lane.
Yeah, very unfortunate to see that end to the evening for Pachalski, but fortunate that it went on a couple of extra laps, like you said. Bit of a slow-moving one here at Weedsport Speedway this evening. Only to lap 16. Once we restart, it'll go to lap 17 of 40 this evening. There's your race leader, Maxime Plant, in the number 79. I think we're coming to the restart this time, and there they go. Up on the bars, off and away. We're back green flag racing on now lap 17. One already high. That was Eisel.
Yeah, I still got a little high there, but I've been watching these 22 cars. I know especially Travis Miller had kind of a quiet start.
I have terrible news for you. I have terrible news for you. We're already under caution.
Oh, that's sad. Well, we're going to get a replay up here and see what went wrong on this restart and hopefully get it back underway for the next one. But you'll see on your screen as we're watching the tail end of the field. I mean, they're all bunching up already. That's a tough spot to be in. I've been in that spot before.
I hate to do this to David DiPietro, but I think this is the cause right here where he pulls out onto the racetrack just trying to rejoin the field, and the yellow flag comes out of the starter's hand almost immediately after. There's no car spun. Unfortunately, that is the cause of our caution.
Well, a little obscure, but David DiPietro obviously brought that yellow out. Another yellow he's involved in for the night. You can tick that one under there, but definitely not any insinuation other than just coming out of the pits at the wrong time right there. So big checkup on the back stretch right here under yellow. They're getting it all sorted out for the moment. But at least we got the 68 car back out on track with this.
Yeah, we had cars stopped waiting on the pace truck to find its place in our smorgasbord of race cars. And thankfully it has, and we then pick things right back up where we left off. And nothing's going to change under this caution. Then maybe a couple of positions in the midfield especially mixing around, but really no changes up front. They didn't even have time to set slides for turn 1 before we were already under a caution period. I guess we got through half of turns 1 and 2, so we got through turn 1 and maybe a little bit of change in turn 2. And that's one of the really, that's probably the most unfortunate cause of caution we've had all season long, is David's just trying to rejoin the race, and unfortunately, because it's a slow car on the racetrack, it draws the yellow.
Yeah, that's tough for us. I mean, not too bad for him, but tough that we just had to go through that again and get these guys racked up again so that we could get the restart through. But fortunately, David's back out on track. Shouldn't be an issue again, and hopefully we'll get a nice green flag run off of this, get these guys a chance to kind of get the willies out on that first restart and be able to put down the bullhorns and just roll through this one.
Well, we have a chance to do so already. Coming back to the green flag, we're off and away. And it is Plant still leading. Then it's Albretta, Miller, Beagle, and Higbee. Susie on the outside of the top 5. They're fanning out further back around the top 10 cutoff as Haas has company from Hebert. And that is Richard down on the bottom side. These two had a very interesting path to this feature race. Glad they're starting to make their way up the field. But boy, what could have been for the rest of the field if those two hadn't made it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Richard and Hebert had to fight their way back up through the consolation to get into this event and put themselves in a better position, at least to start it. And then obviously they have to go through everybody who got through on the heat races and a couple other guys from the consolations that got better starting positions than them. They've just been slowly working up through the field. I guess they've been working up at least at the same pace, maybe not necessarily together, but they're trekking up through there, and maybe they can get up further, maybe even into the top 5 before this one. We're only halfway into it, though. Plenty of time for those guys to get up towards the front.
And you see the racing line from some of these shots moved all the way up to the wall already. You see Beagle, one of the lone guys down on the bottom side, and he's just trying to work it in, trying to make it work, but you can see the whole middle of the racetrack slicked off, and even the top of the racetrack pretty slick, but they're just using that cushion up there. And oh, Susie, a bit deep, gets into the wall. He's in 6th spot, trying to break his way back into the top 10, but he's going to go through Beagle to do it. As, well, actually, Higbee's keeping that 4th spot from Ryan Beagle, and Miller hanging on to a podium position now. Miller's doing something interesting. He's doing a bit of a oval short track trick where you apex early. Well, actually be an inverse of an oval short track trick, because on oval, pavement oval, you'd enter a bit higher than apex late, drive straight out of the corner. What Miller's doing right now is driving in straight, apexing really early, letting it wash to the wall, almost like a slide job, then drive out. I say all of this, and we have another caution flag.
Yeah, that's Richard Pereira on the
if this one involves the bollards down there again, oh.
That's a tough break for the 96. We'll pull back a replay on this one and see how it unfolds. Unfortunate for Richard in that 96 machine. Coming up on your screen right here, you'll see him just trying to chug along more towards the tail end of the field. He's actually alone for the most part right at the moment.
Man.
Oh, man, just misjudged the apex at turn 4 and sent that car right up into the concrete.
I think that's the 4th incident this evening. I think 3rd in this feature alone, where we've seen somebody go into either the bollards down there or the wall itself and just end their night on it. Let's watch this from Richard's onboard, and Richard Pereira just, oh my gosh, the sudden stop.
That's just misjudgment on the driver. I mean, that's tough to say it, but unfortunately, you get into that corner a little bit too shallow, and you can't quite get the car to slide up the track enough as much as you want. I've been there plenty of times. I know how that feels. But you just have that impending contact coming up in front of you, and even though it's a video game and a simulator, it's still something that gives you a little scare.
Well, yeah, it's just all of a sudden you're stopping, and of course it's probably giving your wheel a jolt as well. And these drivers, they feel what the car would be feeling, at least to a point, to a pretty good point as well. iRacing does a pretty good job of it, as well as the wheel manufacturers, but they are holding a physical steering wheel where they feel the impacts that they make and they take. So if the front wheels would have gotten jolted around and all of that, they would have felt it through the virtual steering column, and it can, if you have a direct drive wheel, it can hurt your hands. It can actually break your hand if you aren't careful. We go back green flag racing, and actually, it happens in real life. It happens on the sim. You can tear up a hand or wrist in the rim of your steering wheel if you aren't careful. Coming to lap 26, and we've got Maxime Plant out front. Then it's AJ Albretta second place. Travis Miller, Cody Higbee going at it for third.
It looks like Miller's going to do the same thing in this time, except he gets a little bit up into the wall. His method seems to be try to make time on the entrance of the corner, and then when you get to the end of turn 2 or turn 4, you use the built-up cushion up at the top as some grip to kind of slingshot your car off the high side and get you some momentum down the backstretch. Trying to keep that in tow will give you speed down the back and front stretches, which is what Travis Miller would have wanted to get around Cody Higbee right there. He gets up into the wall again. Ryan Beagle's using the bottom side to get around him on the inside there. 84 going to be moving up at least temporarily into 4th spot, but Miller's not giving up quite yet. Going to use that run again and see if he can get back around the 84 down the backstretch.
And you see that as soon as he has to run the top side on entry, he starts making a couple of mistakes. Hit the wall the last time by, and he's a bit slower this time. And yeah, I mean, he's just throwing it in a bit like a slide job, but he's throwing a slide job on nobody just to run the same line and use the top side as as kind of his brakes and the way to rotate the car. It's very interesting. Meanwhile, Beagle's making a great time out of the bottom side. You see Higby's going to block that inside a little bit, as Hebert into the inside wall that backs up Susie, and you can see suddenly they're all clamoring to get down to the bottom side. I feel like it's Lanier all over again.
Yeah, it seems like that guys want to run up at the top, or at least they want to run one line, and then as soon as the other line starts being better, they all jump to that line. But you have people in both scenarios that kind of run the line that nobody else does. Like in this case, you had Ryan Beagle doing so, running the bottom while everybody was still up top, and that's kind of your insinuation that, hey, I should probably run down there, is when Ryan Beagle starts making passes on all these guys. He puts himself up into the top 3 now with the pass on Cody Higby, as Miller and Higby are going to be fighting right in front of Kevin Hebert to try to hold on to their spots, because that 71 is coming on like a thunderstorm.
Love being able to use those onboards, and oh my, Travis Miller, not again! That's the 4th in this race. The 5th time this evening we've seen somebody clip those inside walls, and bollards especially in turn 4. I think that's the 4th time it's happened there. We only saw one other into turn 1. I can't believe it.
That's a tough break. Travis was doing a pretty solid job. He was staying very consistent there, running his lines. Obviously, he got a little bit of contact in the top walls when he was doing his little show. But I mean, we saw it the first time around. You get a little bit of a replay of him just kind of misjudging the entrance of turn 4. And it seems like, I was going to say this early on, apexing turns 1 and 4 is like crucially important in these guys racing this event tonight, because it seems like that's the quick way around, but you've got to be really careful with the concrete down there.
Yeah, this is another massive hit, just like Pereira. I mean, it's a carbon copy almost, and that proves that it's just it's throwing these guys for a loop in general. It's not just Richard Pereira in the back. It's everybody, obviously, as one of our front runners makes the exact same mistake. So the same mistakes these guys are making in the back racing for 20th, they're making racing for 3rd. It's clearly just these guys are having a tough time at the racetrack this evening, I'd say. It's certainly not just a one-driver problem or anything like that. It is just tough to get that inside line. And you know what? You think of a place like Volusia, for example. You have a wall down there through the entirety of the corner. Here, not so much. It's just those intermittent portions, mostly down the backstretch, but then you have the inlets there in the corners. Back green flag racing is lap 33 of 40. Plant leads away, and Albretta there in 2nd place. We can at least get some laps in that little run. Beagle now into 3rd, Higby 4th, and Hebert is into 5th.
Yeah, for the moment, the top 5 running single file, at least one by one, down in through 1 and 2 again. You see Hebert's the only one who's ventured up to the top side. He's that guy up there, the lab rat up top, right now trying to make sure, well, now he runs the middle. He's trying to find the best place to go, which is going to show the rest of the field where they need to run to try to stick it with him. But for the time being, he's searching. Maxime Plant jumps up to the top side. You're riding on board and looking at him working the steering wheel inside that 79 machine. They come past again, going to have 5 more times around, and a nice little challenge on the inside from Albretta that time, but I don't think that's enough space for Albretta to try to get through, as Maxime Plant puts him back almost a half second down the back straightaway.
We may have a battle for 2nd before the end of this race, as it looks like Maxime's starting to walk away. We have Ryan Beagle pulling up to the back end of AJ Albretta. It's not over within the podium positions. Cody Higby is there as well. He wants to keep a good run for himself, and this could help get him ever closer to points leader Kevin Hebert, who is actually right behind him on the racetrack. He's got to make points up. This might be his opportunity to do so. 3 to go that time by.
3 more times around. Maxime Plant's holding on very strong right now. Albretta, Beagle, Higby, and Hebert. That's your top 5. Brian Susie just on the outside. Matt DeRitter actually up into 7th place. So great run for that 03 machine. One of those guys at his home track right now. They come past again. Ryan Beagle trying to give some trouble to AJ Albretta. Got into the wall a little bit down the front stretch. Kevin Hebert up to the top side. Going to get some momentum off of that one. Maybe a little bit of extra speed, actually a little slower than Higby down the back that time. Up into the wall this time for the 71. That's going to kill your run down the front stretch.
White flag that time by Maxime Plant down the backstretch, the D-shaped backstretch here at Weedsport. He's got nobody to worry about in the mirrors these cars don't have. He's going to pull away. He is going to win at Weedsport. 2nd is going to go to AJ Albretta, then Ryan Beagle in 3rd, and that's that from Weedsport. Just like that. It felt like it ended so quickly, even after those caution flags. It just all came to a close so quickly after that last one. And Maxime Plant, he had troubles at first as well. Davidson going to take the incident count of the inside walls up to 6. Plant just walked away on that final restart. And you know what? That's what winners do. They go out there and they put themselves out up top, literally, as he pulls up to the top of that little hill on the infield. That 79 is just, he's so good. The gentleman Maxime Plant, he is so good. Just driving away from this field this evening.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of guys about running on dirt here on iRacing, and it seems like consistency and experience is just what pays off the most for these guys, no matter what cars you're running. If you have the ability to put that car where you want it, you're going to be able to get up to the front. And obviously, Maxime Plant's got a lot of experience with these big blocks and put it together very well, stayed pretty consistent up at the front and ran his line very smooth. Obviously, a well-deserved win for that 79 car. Definitely the class of the field here tonight.
Well, now that the race is out of the way, we get to talk to these guys in a minute, and that's one of the things I look forward to the most each and every broadcast is talking to these drivers post-race. We will be doing so momentarily. Make sure to stick around. We have a couple of messages from a couple of our partners here momentarily before we talk to these guys, but you never want to miss post-race interviews. They're coming right up after this break.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Welcome back to Weedsport Speedway here in Weedsport, New York. We just saw a very interesting and hard-fought feature race for the BRP iRacing series in their 6th round of 14. It all gets won by none other than the gentleman Maxime Plant. And Maxime, the 79 just looked amazing tonight. Nobody could get up there and touch you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, tonight is really hard to keep concentration because we have a lot of yellow flag and that's really hard for me.
Yeah, of course, a lot of stoppages of action, and it really forced you to be up on that restart game. Seems to be a common theme so far this season, just these big blocks throwing you guys for a loop, or what?
Yeah, I will try to understand what you say because my English is not really good, but I think you talk about the track. The track is really slick tonight. AJ is really good, and is a really good driver on iRacing. I see them inside lane, so I decide to keep the outside, and that's good for me to take the win.
Hey, no worries about the English. You guys speak it really well. And you drive even better, Maxime. You're putting together a pretty good season. How do you feel about your chances for a championship?
I'm not really sure for the championship because I'm too unlucky on the other race, and I think I'm 9 or 8 in the championship. I will try to figure out on the top, but I hope so.
Well, a 79 is certainly in mid-season form. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out this evening?
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for the stream and my team, sponsor, and family, and it's a really good night for us.
Absolutely, Maxime, the gentleman, winning this evening. That 79 looks great. Keep it up this season.
Thank you, sir.
And he tacks on a big race win this season, along with 31 laps led there, Joe. That's a big night for Maxime there, but it was also a pretty big night for the guy right behind him. It's not a race win, but still a pretty good one, and your track side with him.
Yes, sir. I got AJ Albreda right here. AJ, this is Joe Donahue with PitStop TV. Do you got a copy?
Sir.
All right, AJ. Well, the car seemed to come in a lot at the end of the race, and especially when the track kind of slicked off a bit. Was that kind of what you had it set up for at the beginning of the evening too?
Yes and no. Car felt good all around. It definitely felt like I was a lot better around the bottom than I was the top. I was just struggling a lot in 3 and 4. I was pushing tight, and a couple times I almost smoked the wall. So I was very fortunate to keep it straight, keep it on all fours, and come home second.
Yeah, we saw a couple of guys throughout the race get it wrong there and get up into the walls or get down into the walls too. It seemed like maybe you could talk about how difficult it was just to get around this track with how dynamic and unique the whole facility is here at Weedsport.
Yeah, the track's a really unique shape, so it's a lot harder than anywhere else to get around for sure, especially when it gets slick, because it's either one lane or some nights you'll have 2 lanes, which tonight I felt like it was pretty decent on both top and bottom. I was able to stay with Maxime. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pass him, but not too upset about that. He's one of the best. But a lot of it is also having fear of the guys behind you, because you don't really know how hard they're going to drive it in, so you kind of get nervous when you're going into one, you're lifting early.
Yeah, that's definitely something to worry about back there, to see those guys coming on strong in the mirror. We talked about it earlier on in the broadcast. You seem to be one of those guys who can get the bull ring tracks down pretty flat. You won at Lanier, and you came home second here. How's your outlook on the rest of the season, trying to put together good performances at more of the future tracks and charge forward in the championship?
I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of the season. I definitely know that I have the skill in the car to do very well. But you have really tough competition. You got Kevin Hebert, Maxime Plant, Cody Higbee. You got some of the best on iRacing, all racing for the one win. So it's sometimes hard to beat them. But the last couple of weeks, I really didn't really have too fortunate of finishes, just because of stuff that happens throughout the race. You know, it's racing. Sometimes you get wrecked. Sometimes you win. Sometimes you lose. You know, that's just how it is. But yeah, the last couple of weeks, just not too fortunate. But tonight was fortunate enough to just stay up front and ride and have a good race.
Yeah, I remember your run at Knoxville didn't quite turn out the way you certainly would have wanted it to, but you come back out, next week out, and you get a second place performance. That's a pretty good run, and a good run for the championship too. So congratulations for that, AJ. And before we let you go for the evening, I'll let you take the floor and just say thank you to anybody you need to, or anything you want to say here on the broadcast.
Thank you. I got to thank all my sponsors: JRC Transportation, Rob Albreda, Snap-on Tools, Monica's Restaurant, T-Berry Motorsports, Dig Race Shocks, Bread Refuse and Sweeping. I got to thank my buddy Chris Morris for spotting for me. For sure, he was definitely a big help in the success tonight. TJ and Delaney for always watching, and this one goes up to my grandfather, passed away a couple years ago, so I always know he's watching down on me.
Absolutely, AJ, I'm sure he is, and you did a great job there. A lot of good people to thank behind you. Congratulations on your second place tonight. Go celebrate it, and we'll be hopefully talking to you again next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And there's your second place driver, Andrew. I'll hand it back to you with a guy who's very consistent throughout the course of this evening, that driver, the 84, Ryan Beagle, home in third place.
And not only was he consistent this evening, but getting more and more consistent on the season. Ryan Beagle, it's another podium finish. How was that 844 on the racetrack tonight?
You guys hear me? Yeah.
We got you, Ryan.
We kind of stayed out of trouble and got in the right lines on a couple of those double file restarts and got to the bottom before a couple other guys there when the track locked down. But no, we had a good run.
You're getting further involved in these battles up in the podium with guys like Cody Higbee, AJ Albretta, Maxime Plant, Kevin Hebert, all those guys that were on top of the series. That 84 is starting to climb the point standings itself. How do you feel about tangoing with those guys possibly for the championship before season's end?
Yeah, hopefully we're there. If not, we're here to just have some fun. So just happy to be on the same straightaway with a lot of those guys.
And not only were you in the same straightaway, you were almost making contact with some of those guys, roughing it up on another one of these little bull rings. And a great run from the number 84 team. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
Yeah, just everybody that puts this deal on, and you guys for the broadcast. And hopefully we're talking to you again next week.
I'm sure we'll be talking to you a whole lot more this season. The 84 again looking more and more consistent as the weeks go by. Best luck to you out there next week.
Thanks.
That's Ryan Beagle finishing up on the bottom step of the podium this evening. And Joe, again, I mean it when I say that 84 is looking like it's in mid-season form as well as Maxime Plant in the 79. It looks like this 84 could give these guys a big run for their money.
Yeah, winning races is a great way to win a championship, but obviously you can't win and retire and win and retire. You got to have a nice, consistent run throughout the season, and especially trudging through the mid-season, which Ryan Beagle seems to have a very good grasp on. I think that's the type of thing that if he can just break through and get up into the top spot maybe once or twice and just keep doing what he's doing right now, I think he's going to be a top contender at the end of this season.
Absolutely. I'd say the 84 is looking great. A lot of these guys towards the top are looking like they want to put themselves in position for a championship. And, of course, that is the ultimate goal. Everybody wants to get up there in battle for P1. But let's take a look at who was in every position this evening. Looking down our results. Maxime Plant, 31 laps led, takes home the victory by just over 0.6 of a second. Just over a second back was Ryan Beagle in third. We talked to all three of them. Then it's Cody Higbee in fourth, Kevin Hebert in fifth place. The rest of the top 10 looking like this. The 38 of Ryan Susi, 03 of Matt DeRitter, 55 of Brett Haas in eighth. Then the 18 of Gavin Eisel in ninth, and Joe Matthews rounds out the top 10.
You look back into 11th spot after that first name I so love. You got Thomas Richard, came off of an 11th place performance tonight. Double H, Hunter Holberg comes home in 12th spot in the 99. The 60 of Brian Berger comes home 13th, and behind him will be Jamie Porter in the 45. Brandon Gruel rounds out your top 15 in the 35G, and behind him Michael Hackett tried to rebound that machine over the course of the evening and just not quite all the way up to the front, but 16th place. 17th for Randy Giroux. 18th is going to be that number 23 of Mike Wenner. Had a tough evening. Dan Sider brings it home in 19th. And rounding out the top 20 going to be the 22 machine of Travis Miller.
And finishing up in the back six positions this evening, it's Adam Hilton in 21st. That's going to hurt his season a ton. Dean Meitzler there in 22nd. Then Tyler Pachalski, Richard Pereira having big, tough breaks. Dylan Davidson right at the end. He gets caught on that inside retaining wall. Another one of our incidents down there, and then David DiPietro, after being involved in so many little incidents throughout the night. Unfortunately, I don't think any of them were his doing. Maybe one of them was David's fault. Unfortunately, going to come home at dead last in 26th position. A rough night for some, great night for others, Joe, and it's just another step of the way to getting to crowning a champion.
Yeah, and to be a champion, you have to obviously put good performances week in, week out. These guys get some breaks with with time just to have maybe an off week, but you can't come out and not be competitive. And I think a lot of these guys have shown they have the speed and they have the competitive spirit to push forward and trek towards that championship and get that crown for themselves.
So as we wrap up here, rather, from the Weedsport Speedway here in Weedsport, New York, PitStop TV, thanks to you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. In just a few, well, I say a few, about 26, 25 minutes, we'll be joining you with coverage of the Pacific Challenge GT3 Series at the Nürburgring. Not just the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, no, it is the VLN version of the Nordschleife. It's combined there with a portion of the GP circuit, and then you have the full big green hell. It is the Nürburgring here in just a little while for the Pacific Challenge GT3 Series. Tuesday, we bring you the Operation E Motorsport visit to Montreal. Then Wednesday, we get bluegrass action from Darlington, and Friday, we head back up north to Michigan with LTAC. To cap off the week, Nortona makes its triumphant debut on PitStop TV with Daytona Dual Action Saturday and the Nortona 500 on Sunday. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/PitStopTV, .com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, Joe Donahue beside me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.